Morning, Coach. We'll get started with Nick and then Ruben.
Hi, Jim. Brandon Graham is having, at least statistically, his best season as far as sacks go at age 32. Have you seen anything like that before? And do you think he is? I mean, obviously, you've said in the past that you really can't measure guys by statistics sometimes. Is he having a great season or his best season? And how much of that have you seen before with your experience?
Yeah, and I think throughout the NFL, you've seen a lot of situations where you've seen older pass rushers continue to be effective. I think you can look at a lot of defensive ends, and you see that a lot. As far as having his best season, I don't know if I really judge it that way. I didn't really follow him a ton before we got here 4 or 5 years ago. And we always judge our D line play not as individual statistics, but as a group. And I think that he has made an impact on that group, not just in the pass rush game, which everybody seems to focus on, but in the run game also has made some big tackles in the run game, created some pressures, and has able to finish with sacks and also some turnovers, which have been huge for us. Like that last week of, our offensive turned the ball over. We went back on the field on a short field, and, a success there is probably giving up a field goal, but not only, not allow a field goal, but, be able to get the ball out. So, BG is having an outstanding year. We'll just wait till the end of the year before we compare it to any other season. We still got a long way to go.
Ruben and then Martin.
Hey, Jim, I wanted to ask you about Michael Jacquet, what you saw from him in that Dallas game for a kid who hadn't played before. Got a lot of work in that game. Still on the practice squad, obviously, but where might he fit in moving forward if he can get on the 53?
Yeah, that's the way this league has gone this year. You have that taxi squad of the practice squad, and whether it's COVID related or injury related, you get a lot of those guys that are Sunday morning call ups or Saturday call ups, and it just shows, how much work they need to put in preparation wise because they could get called up at any second. And Cravon wasn't able to play, and MJ stepped in and played. And we didn't anticipate him having to play, but Slay got nicked up, and he had to go in. And I think probably the best way to put it is you really didn't notice he was out there. And if you're a corner, that's it's not necessarily a bad thing. He probably, like his one play back, probably should have had an interception on one play, but he was there when the team needed him. And maybe on Wednesday or Thursday of that week, he wasn't even, in the ballpark if he was gonna play. But we've had a lot of guys step up that way this year and make plays for us, and we're going to need to continue over the next half of the season.
Go ahead, Martin, and then Jeff.
Hi, Jim. We obviously didn't get a chance to talk to you after the Dallas game, but I wanted to ask you about the game TJ Edwards had. Just the way he stepped up, made some huge plays. How important was that for you guys, and where do you see him as far as going forward and everything with this play?
Yeah, I thought he was playing well before he got injured. I thought he was playing really well against San Francisco on that Sunday night game that he was playing before he hurt his hamstring. He's a strong player. He can fill those interior gaps. He's probably our best linebacker when it comes to being physical at the line of scrimmage and taking on guards and tackles and taking offensive linemen off of double teams and things like that. And he's a reliable tackler. Made a big play when it counted. The way we run that blitz is we generally have three guys and they should have two blockers for him. They chose not to block him, and they blocked Rodney instead, and he was able to not just get the sack but be able to get the strip, and we were able to get the score off of it. And that game was in the balance right there. They're down less than a touchdown. They're driving into our territory. Not only we come up with a stop, I mean, again, a success in that situation is probably getting a sack and forcing a field goal range. But not only to get the sack, but get the strip. And, we got fortunate with the bounce and picked the ball up and go score. And that really just changed it. I mean, it sealed the game at that point, made it a 2-score game. And, we were going to have to really screw something up to lose that game at that point.
Jeff and then John.
Jim, Nate Gary obviously is injured now and didn't play. There was never really a play that he got hurt on, and at least that we could tell that he was removed from the game. So I'm wondering how much of the injury had been bothering him prior to you guys deciding finally to shut him down. Was that something that had been affecting him for weeks, or can you give a little more information on that, please?
Yeah, I really can't. That's really not my realm to talk about injuries. That's a question for either Coach Peterson or for Nate himself. That's just, there's been a lot of guys play with a lot of different things that nick them up, and they're still able to go play. Some things, get where you can't play, and we just deal with all those things as they come up.
Go ahead, John, and then Zach.
Hey, Jim, a little off the beaten path here, but you mentioned over the weekend to Peter King, that Alex Trebek helped train you as a football coach. Was that, obviously people upset losing a legend like that, but was that tongue in cheek, or were you serious about that?
No, I mean, obviously I didn't think he was training me as a football coach when it was going on. I was a sophomore and junior in college. I didn't even know I was going to go into coaching. We were just playing for fun, and it was an ultra competitive environment. But, you look back and you see the lessons learned from stuff like that, and you see the carryovers to football. It's not just getting the right answer. It's getting the right answer quicker than everybody else. I've always talked to football players about this. It's like, hey, what's 2 + 2 4? And somebody else says 2 + 2, and they go 1, 2, 4. Well, both of them got the right answer, but the other one, the ball was snapped and the running back just ran right past you. So, there's that. And, when you're a defensive coach in particular, you're reacting when you make your play calls. You guys see, I'm very rarely have a play sheet or a call. I might have some notes written down on one small page, but that's about it. And the reason is you have to react to what personnel group you're getting, the down and distance, all those different things. You can't pick a play the way offensive coaches do. So I think that just looking back, that had a lot to do. And then just Alex Trebek in general, his command over the game. I thought it was always interesting. You never knew if he really knew the answer, or it was just he sold it because it was written on his card. Oh no, Henry VIII, not Henry VI. Like that kind of thing. Just having command over the game and the players. And I think the other thing, he did it for so long. He had such consistency, and it didn't happen by mistake. He was such a professional. He never flubbed a word. He never flubbed a syntax. So you knew that every question he had read probably 20 times. And that's, it's a lot of questions on the board. He prepared himself, and it showed in his performance. So I think there's some carryovers. Practice is important. Big news flash there. Command is important. Thinking quick is important. Competitiveness is important. Those are the lessons that I learned from, just watching a silly game show on TV.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Dave.
Hey, Jim, you've had this situation a few times in the past few years where you play a team in such a confined period. In these situations, do you find that you need to alter the scheme at all, or I guess not the scheme, the game plan, or is the familiarity such that you just go out there and play?
Yeah, I think there is that. That's generally a short week kind of thing. Hey, you are what you are. They are what they are. We'll have a little bit of wrinkles, and I'm sure they'll have some wrinkles off of some of the stuff. Both teams will, try to play to some of the things that they were successful and see if the other team made the adjustments to shore in that kind of stuff. Hopefully you won't see us give up any 90-yard runs to quarterbacks this week. But I'm sure they're going to test us on that, so we have to be up to that challenge. Division opponents generally know each other, so it's not a huge thing playing, on a short span, only 2 games in between. I think a lot of that stuff goes out the window. They're familiar with us, we're familiar with them. It's going to come down to, who plays with the most spirit, who plays with the most toughness, who executes the best, and who plays the best fundamentals. Those things will probably have a lot more to do with a win or, a good performance than, than coming up with a new wrinkle or something the team hasn't seen or expected.
Dave and then Paul.
Hey, Jim, I wanted to follow up on TJ Edwards. I think one of the big knocks on him, I guess, early in his career has been the lack of great athleticism. How do you view him? Is he a limited player because of that, or could he be a three down type of linebacker?
I'll let you guys ask him that question. That's that's a tough question to ask somebody. I think he was a very productive player at Wisconsin. Had a lot of production there and things like that. He didn't run a great 40 time. I don't know that I've ever, the times that he played fairly sparingly as a rookie, but he was out there, and he's been when he's been healthy this year, he's been a contributor for this year. I don't know that I've ever had to limit my calls with him in the game. And I've had some other guys that way. When I was in Buffalo, we had a very similar guy named Preston Brown, who we drafted in third or fourth round, a very productive player at Louisville, and just didn't run a good 40 time. But he didn't play slow. He led to the NFL in tackles a couple of years, and he went out there as a rookie, and you didn't even call the game as if you were trying to cover him up or hide. And that's the way I feel about TJ. Everything we've asked him to do, he's been able to do. And there's a difference between a guy that tests well and a guy that plays football well. And I think that TJ is a guy that plays football well. Our scouts really did a great job with him, getting him as a free agent. A lot of our scouts had him marked as one of their red star players, which means that's one of their favorite players in the draft. And we made a strong effort to get him after draft. I'm very thankful for that, to be able to get a guy like that without having to spend a draft pick. Was a great addition for us.
Paul and then Tim.
Jim, you've given up more rushing yards than you have in the past, as you pointed out before the Dallas game. It hasn't been a case of teams methodically driving down the field on you. You've held running backs, I think, to 3.3 yards per carry. Most of it's been misdirection plays or quarterback runs, but it's still been 40% of the other team's rushing yards. How do you address that during the bye week? How have you addressed it?
Well, we actually address it after every series. And after every series, after the half, after the game, weekly, bye week, you name it. Bye week was more of a study thing. We practiced on Wednesday. We practiced on Wednesday, but didn't practice. The rest of the time was more evaluation and film study and things like that. All those plays were a little bit different. Like that the long run we gave up to the quarterback, we misfit that. Other ones have been a physical mistake. A guy missed a tackle. Some of them have been tough plays based on the scheme. So just like anything else, it's just a battle. A team has success with something, so you're going to see more of it. And for us to be a good run defense, we have to put that fire out. And it's going to take a lot of work over the next 8 games to do that.
We have time for a couple more, so we'll wrap it up with Tim last and then Ed.
Hey, Jim, Brandon Graham seems like he's been an important energy source for you guys, always talking on the field, off the field, uplifting guys, that kind of thing. I'm just wondering how important that has been for your group, and if there's any example that comes to mind of Brandon Graham on game day and his persona.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is he always keeps his energy up on the field, on the sideline, during practice, during the breakfast line. He's the guy that just embraces every part of this thing. He's always talking about football. He's always, he's always excited about the next challenge, enjoys practice, enjoys meetings. So it's not just what you're seeing on Sunday from him. It's what you see. It's just him in his daily life. How you do something is how you do everything. And, that's the way BG handles it. And he's an important leader for us. He's got a lot of experience. He's seen a lot of things. He knows how to persevere through hard times. And that's a great example to a lot of the younger players. And, just looking back and just the climate of NFL in general now, people are so quick to judge players, whether they're successful or not. And I know BG was tagged early, as not being a successful draft pick and things like that. He was able to persevere through that and gone on to have a very successful career, maybe having the best season in his career, at age 32. All that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because he has a passion for the game, and he's enthusiastic, and he has the experience of seeing tough times and has that perspective. And I think that's an important lesson for all our guys.
Go ahead, Les.
Hey, Jim. That Giants game a few weeks ago, other than the 80-yard quarterback run, what did you see that they did? What did you see that they did that you need to be concerned about this week? What did you think they did effectively against you?
Well, they have a lot of playmakers. They had just got Sterling Shepard back, and he's become obviously a bigger part of their game plan over these last couple weeks. He's even gotten some snaps in the slot, which is sort of his old homeland in there. Their tight end is a good player, makes a lot of plays on jet sweeps and, trying to scheme ways to get the ball to him. And their run game has become, lose a guy like Saquon Barkley, it's hard to replace him with just one person. So they've introduced a whole lot more zone read concepts. And, I think all of those are challenges for us. Slayton is a guy that can, break the game open. He's a guy that can make big plays. We did a good job against him last time, keeping him from having a big impact in the game. We'd have to do the same thing. It's an experienced offensive line. I think that there's a lot of things that have our attention this week.
Thank you.
We'll wrap it up with Ed.
Hey, Jim, just to follow up on that, and maybe you've already answered this a little bit, but how different does this Giants offense look from just 3 weeks ago? You mentioned the run game. They're getting Gallman and Morris more carries. Yesterday, I think Jones targeted 11 different players, 10 different players caught passes. Does this offense look any different? Has it evolved? And is it kind of picking up on what Joe Judge is teaching now in his first year? Excuse me.
I do think it's evolving. They struggled early in the season, mainly because of turnovers. They've done a little better job of taking care of the ball the last few weeks. And those, turnovers are such a huge thing in a game. So they've done a little better job of taking care of the ball. They've changed their run game just a little bit. It's easy just to hand the ball to Saquon Barkley deep and let him pick his hole, but you have to manufacture some runs, and they've done a good job of manufacturing some runs and, got some guys back from injury. There's a news flash, get some good players back on the field and you'll be a little bit more effective. I think a lot of it also, they did miss Hernandez the last week because of COVID, but, they got a rookie playing left tackle who's a high draft pick, and they got some experience, a guy like Zeitler. They have a good, solid offensive line. It's going to be a great challenge. NFC East games always are. Throw the records out, all those cliches. We're 8-game season right now. And even though we have a slight edge in the NFC East, it's not a huge edge. How the season goes will be dependent on how these last 8 games go, particularly the division games.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, guys.